Okay, so I had an indirect link being in the hotel business. When I moved to India, I was in charge of opening up a few hotel properties, and I saw how cumbersome it was. Everything had to be done from scratch, whereas anywhere else in the world, it was take out the manual, call one of 7 manufacturers for A, B, and C product, etc. So my initial thing was to get into a segment in that where everybody from restaurants, and that time the QSR boom hadn't come to India. So realizing that would come ultimately, I decided to get into manufacturing of products that they wouldn't have to do at store level and could do it outsourced. And within that, I was picking and choosing products that people already were doing. And I found this niche that nobody was doing over here, and that's what I basically took. 2 years ago, we were still following the PFA Act of 1954. And there had been no ratifications or modifications, and every time something had to be changed, it had to be written as a proprietary food. So technically, you could go and put something into a food and go to the PFA department and say, hey, I've come out with something new, and I'm going to write proprietary food on my label and sell it. And they would say, okay. Plus, they didn't have well-documented rules and regulations about labeling, health requirements, the mixing and marrying of ingredients, percentages of ingredients. So in 2006, there was the food, FSSAI was set up. And that has fully come into force this year, 2012 from 1st August. And you would have seen your packaging change, you would have seen many things change on that. And there are a lot of companies still who are not in compliance. And this next step, I think they have till March 31st, when our restaurants have to come into that compliance. So that's going to be very interesting. So this has been the single largest change of moving away from the PFA. So at a domestic level, as I said, we have grown this business, we have started this business. So at least until the last year, there was no direct competition. Indirect competition has always been there. So if I was giving frozen dough, my direct competitor could be a baker in a city who's providing the baked bun to that restaurant. So indirect competition has always been there and will continue being there. I just bring standardization to the plate. Coming to your question to direct competition in India, the business number now has reached a level where it's of interest to larger players. There's a lot of technology that goes into it. It's capital intensive. I think the global players who are in this in some form and format, and they're really large players, some of the largest names out there, will start looking at putting this behind it. It cannot be done out of a garage anymore like I did it, I'll be honest with you, and with the money I did it, if I had to do it today, it would be more than double that. Import is always there. I as an entrepreneur will never take that as a threat, because I mean then you're not an entrepreneur, you know, you're just trying to corner business unnecessarily. You have to work with it, and so there have been people who've tried to import. One of my biggest allies is we work at -25, so you can imagine how hard that is. So the import does have, that's the Achilles heel over there, so that is a benefit to me definitely. But you have to work to matching that standard, and actually next week we have started exporting this product out to traditional markets. So next week is our first exports leaving us of this product, so that is there. As a percentage, I think if I put it in there, in the first 7 years, it was almost 80% of all the monies I took in went into R&D, and I'm also apportioning all my losses and everything into that, because that was R&D. But in the last 3 years, it's come down to single digit. I don't have that on the top of my head, but I would say it's roughly 3 or 4% is what we're putting to R&D over here. But we want to stay the track because it's taken us so long to get this technology and everything into place. So within our portfolio, we're diversifying markets. Like I said, we've started exports. So that's going to be the first thing, but there's still a lot of activity happening with chains coming in. Good news today of another big chain planning their entry into India. So within the broad category, I'm staying there. I'm not getting into ketchup, or I'm not getting into meat, or I'm not getting into ice cream. But within the category, we are diversifying into larger ranges of products for sure. The market in India is changing. What used to take 10 years, 5 years ago took 5 years, and what took 5 years is now taking 2 years. So in the last 5 years, there's been a massive change towards westernization. And in the next 2 years, we'll see a lot. To simplify it and break it up, the customer now is saying, my Indian food is my Indian food. Please don't take my pasta and put chana masala into it. Please don't take my pizza and put dal tadka on it. They're saying we don't mind having the pizza with the pepperoni being slightly more spicy, or the meat being slightly more spicy, but that whole trend of and you'll notice this in the menus in your QSR restaurant, they've moved away from having the tandoori chicken burger to having a spicy McGrill burger. So this has been a massive change in the food industry. I technically produce only westernized food. I don't produce any Indian food, so I'm producing breads, cookies, cakes, desserts. In the bread section, I've noticed people we are outselling plain white bread by 2:1. And our customers are asking for it. And in the desserts, in the last 2 years, keeping sugar prices aside, the requirement for sweetness has been coming almost to half. And a big thing for all the ladies here, chocolate is on the way out, apparently.